Good afternoon. We are live. You're here today. Welcome to Jonesy Chats Wrestling. In just a few seconds, we're going to tell you about last night's 26th of March, Friday night Smackdown. Plus, we'll confirm who's going to be main eventing both nights of WrestleMania. We're going to have that confirmed. We're also going to provide an update regarding some of the additional matches we expect to be added in the card. Please stay tuned. It's coming up next. We hope you listen to Jonesy Chats Wrestling with Jordan and Steve from SCW coming up next. Please stay tuned. We want to hear your thoughts in the comments. It's on its way up next. It's on the way. Stay tuned. It's coming next. Hi, Steve. Welcome back to the show. I hope you're well. It's good to have you here. How are you today?
Yeah, really good. Thank you. Yeah, thanks for having us on as always. Always good to be here for Jonesy Chats Wrestling and Smackdown review. We're so close to WrestleMania now, so yeah, let's hit the panic buttons once again.
Definitely. We'll be back after the intro. Yeah, stay tuned. It's on the way. Hi, good afternoon and welcome back to Jonesy Chats Wrestling. We're back today discussing last night's Friday night Smackdown. I'm joined by Steve from SCW. We've got a fun show coming up. In a few seconds, we're going to cover Smackdown. Got some news about the main events of WrestleMania on the way, and also got some news about some additional matches we expect to be added. For anyone who's joining us first time today, new viewers and old, welcome. We hope you enjoy the show. Please give us a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel for all the good stuff. Please do support what we're trying to do here at Jonesy Chats Wrestling. But without further ado, let's get into it. Are you okay, Steve? Ready for the Smackdown review?
Yeah, all set, my friend. Let's do it.
Yeah, perfect. Let's get into this then. So, coming up off a fantastic Fastlane pay-per-view, Friday Night Smackdown, show opens up. We get quite a big sort of promo from Daniel Bryan. He's basically proposing a way to get into the triple threat match at WrestleMania. Did you enjoy the Daniel Bryan promo?
I did, yeah. I thought it was good. I mean, the thing is, after the finish of the pay-per-view last week, I mean, they went straight in and impacted on what happened from that. That was the big story coming from the pay-per-view. I mean, everyone knew what the direction was going to be, but the fact is that they made it such an important focal point, kicking straight off the show with it. Daniel Bryan, almost a very WrestleMania 30-like, I'm not accepting no for an answer. I'm not going anywhere. But instead of having, a whole ring full of people, occupying Raw, instead it's Daniel Bryan on the chair, not moving anywhere on SmackDown. One minor nitpick. I mean, he did say that certain people had not earned the opportunity like him. Edge obviously has earned that opportunity. He won the Royal Rumble. But at the same time, I think this was more of a dig at Roman Reigns than it was at Edge, because Roman Reigns is the one that tapped out at Fastlane and not Edge. So I think that this is more of a dig at Roman Reigns, that he should be in that spot. And of course, he wanted that title match and he wanted it on SmackDown. Definitely.
A strong opening promo. Obviously, Daniel Bryan putting out his case for why he should be in the match. Edge comes out and interrupts him. Really sort of great promo from Edge. Edge looks really angry, looks deranged. In the end, we end up with Edge kind of taking down Daniel Bryan. Big shot for that. And by the edge of it, Edge looked like the end of sort of The Shining with Jack Nicholson, Mr. Torrance. He looked like that. He looked like he was a man possessed. Did you enjoy this final heel turn of Edge, as we've been saying for weeks now?
Yeah, I mean, the thing is that Edge, it's just a different energy with Edge when he's like this. I mean, don't get me wrong, I like Edge as a babyface, but this Edge, when he's kind of that ultimate opportunist, and you see that psychotic side to him where he's so desperate, that's the Edge where we know that Edge always didn't take no for an answer. He wouldn't settle for second place. He was going to make sure he'd walk away with the World Championship time and time again. That was the Edge that I think most people remember and love. So, yeah, it's good to see this Edge come back.
100%. We then obviously had this Seth Rollins Shinsuke Nakamura match, and this was a really good match. Obviously, a rematch from the Fastlane pay-per-view. Really kind of enjoyed it. I thought it was really good. Obviously, Seth getting the win. He has to stay strong going into this WrestleMania match. Obviously, after the match, we end up with Cesaro sort of coming out making the save. Really good work here. It was really spot on. I think the fact that they're building this match between Cesaro and Seth was done really well. And I thought Seth looked really good in the ring. It's great to see him back with his entrance and all that. What did you think of the match in the aftermath?
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, we got this at Fastlane. It was a great match at Fastlane. To get it back on SmackDown was really good to see. And like you say, we got the right winner in Seth Rollins picking up the victory. And yeah, obviously, he's continued the attack after the match, which led to Cesaro coming to make the save. Yeah, I really enjoyed this. I think that it was building nicely. I mean, obviously, Cesaro's been off TV for a couple of weeks. So for him to come back, make the save for his friend Shinsuke Nakamura is good storytelling in there, because we don't forget the past with them too. But also, it builds further towards that WrestleMania match, like we say, which was confirmed later in the evening.
Definitely. Just going to go to the comments quickly. Got a couple of comments here. We've got one from the Limited CR21. Daniel Bryan going to win. Let's get it. Yeah, I think Roman Reigns is losing the belt at WrestleMania. That's why it's going to be a triple threat. But good comment. Would you agree with that one?
One thing's for sure, someone's going to be taking the pinfall, and it's not Roman Reigns. So either Edge or Daniel Bryan will be the one. Yeah. And one thing's for sure, it's going to be tasty where it leads to. But Daniel Bryan could be a good shout. He's got the momentum right now.
Brilliant. I'm going to go to another comment as well. We've got one here from regular show viewer Don Mills. Everything's got so predictable. Yeah, it's all very predictable. We are rushing on the road to WrestleMania now. 2 weeks today to the show. They've got to build matches, and when they haven't planned stuff for months, you can tell that. But would you agree with that comment? Do you think it's fair? And I think he's on the money with it. Really, I agree with a lot of it.
Yeah, I mean, of course, it's predictable. Like I said, everyone in their grand knew that it was the result of what was going to be the end of this SmackDown. But what I did like is the fact that despite things being predictable, it did feel there was importance of what was going on with that main event storyline. I mean, of course, you go back to, say, 1998 with Stone Cold Steve Austin. I mean, a lot of the time it was predictable what was going to happen with Austin, but it was the way it was delivered. So in some ways, everything's got so predictable, and especially with the undercard, some of that stuff, I would say, not as strong. But what with the Daniel Bryan and Edge and Roman Reigns stuff, I did enjoy that.
Definitely. Obviously going to kind of go into what happened next. So obviously next we had this fantastic 6-man tag. So the 6-man tag was Apollo Crews. We had the Alpha Academy there, Big E and the Street Profits. Really, really good match. I really kind of enjoyed it. There's a lot of elements in this match. Obviously Big E and Apollo. They did a great job of teasing sort of Apollo and Big E that feud isn't finished. Clearly this match was really close, but crucially, Apollo got the win there. He got the pinfall on Big E. For me, excellent booking for WWE. WWE had to do this following Apollo's loss at Fastlane. This was the right thing to do, and I'm happy to see him get the win here. I think they made good on what they screwed up at Fastlane. What were your thoughts of this?
Yeah, I mean, it didn't get a lot of time, but I tell you what, that this match was really good. Chad Gable had some amazing spots in this as well, which just looked unbelievable with some of the stuff he was doing. He's really shining at the minute. And like you say, Apollo needed the victory there. And the fact he's pinned the Intercontinental Champion on the road to WrestleMania is fantastic. My only small criticism, and it's very, very minor, is the fact that I wish that after the match they announced that meant Apollo Crews was granted another title match rather than being told before, because it kind of made, I don't want to say that the match seemed unnecessary. Yeah, it made it obvious, but also made it feel a bit unnecessary because Apollo's already got what he wanted. But to get the momentum there is fantastic. And I mean, to be fair, Street Profits, Alpha Academy, they're doing some great stuff. And yeah, I'm sure we'll be talking about them more in the show.
Definitely. I've only got one other small criticism from me. I think the fact that Apollo won clean, I was surprised at that. I thought Apollo would have used his new sort of weapon, whatever it was. It looked like a giant spoon or something. I thought he would have used that in the finish, to be fair. But I don't know if you agree with that or not. But Apollo got the win. That was the right decision no matter what, though, 100%. Absolutely,
yeah. Apollo needed the victory.
Definitely. We've then obviously got a sort of backstage kind of promo. We've got Adam Pearce running into Edge. Adam Pearce basically saying that he's got to consider all the options. He's basically saying that that he shouldn't include Bryan in this. Good interaction between the two, and they did a really good sort of story out throughout the show to lead to this main segment at the end of the show. Did you enjoy the interaction between both of them?
I did, yeah. I mean, the one thing I would say very briefly, something we didn't really touch on a bit earlier on, is that Daniel Bryan, a lot of his suggestions to have at WrestleMania didn't really affect Edge so much. So the fact that, I mean, I suppose you could argue Edge wanted that second night because it's 10 years to the day that, you know, he had to retire and stuff like that and relinquish the championship. But at the same time, Daniel Bryan didn't suggest taking Edge's spot. So Edge doesn't have as much of a gripe as what Roman Reigns does. But, I mean, there were suggestions of them fighting on night 1 and facing Daniel Bryan on night 2 and all different bits and bobs that were suggested. But no, for what it was, as I say, we were building this stuff throughout the night and it felt important, every single part. The character layer work as well, like we said with Edge there, like we've seen this new heel turn, kind of the opportunity is back, the desperation from him. No, everything felt really good and was delivered very, very well. So no, again, I have positive things to say.
Definitely. We then had this KO show, Kevin Owens, special guest Sami Zayn. This was a fun sort of segment to build up the WrestleMania match. Crucially, coming out of this, talking points of this are the fact that we're going to have Logan Paul finally debut SmackDown next week. As we said, I said that 3 weeks ago that they'd do that at the premiere. That's come off, which was good. We've got this whole teaser, Kevin Owens, Sami. It's a match booked for WrestleMania. Kevin Owens destroyed Sami Zayn. My only slight concern about this is they've booked Sami Zayn so badly. This guy really needs to get a one-up on Kevin Owens next week at the premiere. I think going in, this is so odds against him, really. I know he's got the conspiracy against him, but it's not really going to be an even fight, I don't think. What were your thoughts of the segment and the announcement of the match?
Yeah, it was interesting. The thing is, I quite enjoyed the segment. I love the fact how Sami Zayn as a character just is in general. The fact he'll talk over Kevin Owens to the point that Kevin Owens he had a simple one question and Sami always thought he knew better. I like the way that Sami was delivering that. But at the same time, I do kind of wish, it's more of a nitpick again. I think the segment was fine, but I would say that I feel it was slightly rushed. We've had where, I mean, I said a long time ago, I said at Elimination Chamber, if you go back to my review, that this was going to be a WrestleMania direction and a potential WrestleMania match from the way that they were interacting in the pods and interacting in the chamber. Between then and, you know, this week or last week, not a lot happened, and Kevin Owens was off TV for a time. I don't know what was affecting there, but I think we've kind of skipped parts of the story. We've kind of rushed to get to where we are now. It's just all of a sudden, this is WrestleMania worthy. And I kind of feel that these two do slightly deserve better, because with all the history in Ring of Honor, NXT, even on their time on Raw, I think was if they were on the Raw brand when they were facing at Battleground 2016, or maybe it was just before the brand split at the time. But like, you look at the history they've got, if they'd played that into the storyline, this could have been a real emotional storyline going into WrestleMania. Could have stole the weekend. I still feel the match can steal the whole weekend, because these two got such great chemistry in the ring. But at the same time, to look at the segment as what it is, it's certainly different. I suppose it's not harping on about the past. It's fun, and like you said, we've got Logan Paul coming next week. It'd be interesting to see what that brings to the table. Maybe he'll even be at WrestleMania. We'll have to wait and see how it's all going to play out.
Definitely. We got this fun segment from Bianca Belair. She's discussing sort of the slap that happened at Fastlane. Very good promo for Belair. It showed some signs of some sort of heel tendency, which I was surprised at, but really well delivered. I think it did what it needed to do. It was a great retort to why she didn't fight Sasha Banks back at Fastlane. What were your thoughts on the promo?
I thought it was more no nonsense. It was almost like that she's confident in her own ability as a babyface, that she doesn't need to cheat her way there. And I just kind of feel that now it's almost like she wants to cut the crap. It almost feels like, for, pardon the language, but it feels like we've been stuck with Reginald, we've been stuck with the tag team championships. Yep. Now we're going to focus on what the actual goal is here. And I think a lot of us have been crying out for that for weeks.
Definitely. We had this fun match between Bianca Belair and Natalya. Obviously, it's been building for a while. Really, really solid match. I think the odds really were against Bianca in this. There was a lot of Finns, obviously, Tamina on the outside. Sasha comes out during part of it. It ends up sort of with somehow or another Bianca getting a win there, which was a big win for Bianca. After the match, we do get Sasha gets slapped, and then obviously she then gets revenge, and Sasha leaves Bianca sort of looking down. Is this the official heel turn for Sasha? Is Sasha heel now, or is this just a retort from what happened previously?
I think it's the heel. I really do. Looking at it, Sasha Banks, I mean, that laugh has been going on for about 2 months now, which she was doing all through a heel run last year. And it just feels like now it's there. That slap kind of confirmed it at the pay-per-view, and the way that she was acting this week, it was very, very heelish. So we're back to heel Sasha Banks once again. I like the match with Bianca Belair and Natalya. I think Natalya is very underrated. I think she gets a lot of hate and criticism that's undeserved, personally. But I thought the match was decent. The right result, Bianca Belair coming out on top. And now we're finally, I mean, it's decent. I mean, the thing is, we wanted more from Bianca and Sasha as a rivalry from Rumble to Mania. Look, better late than never. We're getting in a good direction here. So this, for me, was a positive this week.
I've got one sort of small thing I'd like to have seen. I'd love to see them sort of lay off Bianca, get any sort of offense on Sasha. I'd love to have seen her been beaten down again, sort of a no offense. The offense should come at WrestleMania, but it was a great move to get this matchup. But Sasha was a heel. Looking forward to seeing it. Going to go to the comments quickly. I've got a great one here from Dom Mills. Are there too many matches being made for WrestleMania? It feels like there's so much going on. These Finns feel rushed. Certain rivalries are not being allowed to breathe. I agree with you, mate. The problem is they're going to have 2 shows. It's 8 hours probably in total, 4 hours a night. They've got to film matches. They've done most of the cards so far. But would you agree that it feels rushed this year?
I agree with him 100%. I think that Fastlane was the problem, obviously, because that got in the way of everything. It was supposed to build things for the final hurdle to make the matches, but it felt like this week, both on Raw and SmackDown, it was like, hang on, we've only got about 3 or 4 of these matches actually announced. So this week we've kind of got about I want to say at least 7, possibly 8 matches announced in the last 2 shows. Yeah. So, I mean, Dom's bang on the money. A lot of things have felt rushed, and that goes kind of into back what we said with Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn earlier. Feels like we've had to skip some chapters. So, no, I think he's on the money.
Definitely. We've got this singles match here. We've got one half of the tag team champions, Dolph Ziggler with Rumoured, facing Rey Mysterio, Dominic Mysterio. This was a fun match. It had a lot of sort of near falls and stuff like that. Crucially, Rey Mysterio got the win fall. A fantastic win here for sort of Mysterios going against one half of the tag team champions. It's building to the tag team titles. I think that's pretty obvious. What are your thoughts on the match?
Oh, it was a great match, wasn't it? I mean, it must be fair. I mean, on Raw, we went back to 2008 with The Miz and Jeff Hardy. We went back to 2010 here with Rey Mysterio and Dolph Ziggler. But I tell you what, both of them are so good in the ring. I always refuse to do watch-alongs and stuff. I've been asked that on the channel before, and I say I'm one of the most boring people to watch wrestling ever. I don't react to a lot of stuff that happens. But that powerbomb that was done from Ziggler to Rey Mysterio going over the barricade,
that was really, really good. There was a lot of near falls, wasn't there? There was so many near falls in this match where Rey kicked out and stuff, and big win. I think the thing is, it's a massive win. This doesn't go somewhere to WrestleMania. Have you got anything else you want to add about the match at all before we go forward? I
mean, I think it was a good match. I think it was the right result. I do agree it's building to a match for WrestleMania. I think I've already speculated before which direction I think it's going, but we'll touch on that a bit further later in the video, I think.
Definitely. Okay, we then had this Adam Pearce WrestleMania decision. So all the parties are out there. We got Edge out there. We got Roman Reigns, Jey Uso. We've obviously got Daniel Bryan. It ends up sort of with Adam Pearce saying what he thinks is best. Adam Pearce basically addresses all the superstars in the ring. He then announces it's going to be a triple threat, as we said on sort of Tuesday's Raw review. Obviously, that was the plan. They've revealed it. Once that decision's been made, we see all three guys start to brawl. Reigns basically ends up with a chair. He takes out Daniel Bryan, takes out Edge. It then ends up sort of with a feud. By the time the show ends, we get Edge sort of sitting on it, angry and standing tall. So Bryan's been beaten down, Roman's been beaten down, and Edge is a crazed man, much like the show started. What are your thoughts of the segment? Go home, basically.
Yeah, I thought it was good. To be honest, I mean, obviously we needed a decision and we got it, and it's what we've been speculating. I mean, we've been speculating it for weeks, really, to be honest. But obviously, at the same time, like you say, the reports confirmed it this week. We got it announced on TV. It's going to be the main event for WrestleMania. I, again, love the character work from everybody involved in this. Edge seems like a man possessed and not happy that he's not getting that feel-good comeback story. Feels like he's been outshined by Daniel Bryan, who could be having his last WrestleMania moment. I did love one line from Edge in the night, by the way, which he said each match of his could be his last. So it's almost to throw it back at Daniel Bryan. So there's some clever lines, some clever movements all throughout the evening. I love the teaser concertos as well. This was solid all round. And personally for me, I think it's the right decision. I know a lot of people want Roman versus Edge one-on-one, but Daniel Bryan's been involved in the storyline since Elimination Chamber. So this feels like now for things, it makes sense as a storyline. I think as a match, it's really exciting. I think that, like you say, Roman Reigns now perhaps more likely could be losing the championship, but certainly the match feels more unpredictable. And that for me is fun. And like we said earlier on with the comment earlier on, like a lot of things feel like they're predictable. This is one of the things that isn't. And for me, a main event of WrestleMania should feel that exciting as this currently does. So I'm all in. I think this has been built very, very well, particularly over the last couple of weeks.
Fantastic segment. The heel turn of Edge was done really well. The concerto, I love that. That was really, really good. I think they've done a great job, and I think this is the one opportunity to get the belt of Roman Reigns. You don't need him to be pinned, as Steve said earlier in the video. I think it's all the elements in this make me want to see this match. I'm so glad they're not doing Edge and Roman now. I think the thing with it, this has been built sort of so well. When we look at it, this match, they haven't had much long to change this match, the triple threat, but the way they built it up, all the elements involved deserve to be there. This could be Daniel Bryan's last WrestleMania. Edge is a feel-good story. He's now turned heel, so that's a fun element as well. And Daniel Bryan, for me, what a character as well with Roman as well. Roman, one of the greatest champions of all time at the moment. This guy's win streak's unreal. So it's going to be a fun WrestleMania match. Going to go to the comments quickly. Got a great comment here from Don Mills. Edge has all the heat at the moment. I've been massively surprised if he doesn't take home the gold. I'd love to see it. The only thing that stops me saying that a little bit, Dom, to a certain point, is if they want to do a Roman Reigns facing whoever at Money in the Bank to get the belt back, I think he'll face a babyface. I don't know if they'll do heel versus heel. Do you think they would, Steve? That's the only thing that maybe puts me off from choosing Edge to win.
Well, weirdly enough, I mean, Bobby Lashley's been taking on Sheamus the last couple of weeks, heel versus heel. Obviously, he did face The Miz, which was heel versus heel. I think I said this on the Raw one, actually, in Elias AJ. So heel versus heel is not a stranger in WWE right now. So it's a match I'd like to see down the line, for sure. I'd like to see Daniel Bryan versus Edge. And, I mean, we can always do Daniel Bryan versus Roman Reigns on Smackdown on a weekly TV show. So I wouldn't be surprised if Edge was to win the title. If I had to make a prediction right now, I'd say Edge takes the gold. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. My main issue with everything, actually, is that Edge was supposed to fill the gap of the much-needed babyface role on SmackDown, which currently now, that void's now been taken. We've got another heel on that side. Does Seth Rollins need to turn babyface later in the year, or do we push up Big E and Cesaro? I know that I'm an advocate for those two, so I will continue to do so. So, we'll have to wait and see how things are going to be booked going forward on SmackDown. But one thing's for sure, it's certainly interesting.
Definitely. Obviously, the way this has changed, this was obviously changed by Vince. In the last couple of weeks, he was getting worried about the whole dynamic of Edge versus Roman. I think the thing with it's an interesting choice, but for me, it's very similar to the 2014 scenario where they basically had the same they planned for Batista, Randy Orton. They then went with Daniel Bryan to win the belt. They've kind of done the same this year as well. I think it's one of them things, but Edge versus Daniel Bryan at Money in the Bank, book it now for me. I think that's a match I want to see, but Roman can have some time away for the belt, and I think it's not going to do him any harm. This guy's been so over and stuff like that. Him getting the belt back. So as he don't turn babyface, that's what I'm dreading. If he goes babyface sort of towards the end of the year, I think that could be, I wouldn't say it'd be disaster, but would you be a fan of a babyface turn for Roman? I think it gets stale very quickly.
Right now, I would be against it. I think that Roman's doing some of the best work of his career, and it's nowhere near being stale. For me, a storyline idea that I'd like to see is Roman without the belt and not being allowed to challenge for it straight away. Kind of like with the Street Profits with the tag belts right now. If you had that idea of Roman Reigns being, well, I'm the guy that's been carrying this show for like 6 months, and I'm not guaranteed an automatic title match rematch at the pay-per-view or the next night or whatever, and he thinks he's got to fight his way. Almost the rattles going out the pram seems like a fun storyline direction they could go with this. And then obviously that can cause friction with him and Jey Uso again, potentially. That would be perhaps more interesting for Jey to go and turn back to being babyface, because Jey Uso is another one that could be turned into a star on SmackDown. The way he's been built over the last 6 to 8 months has been absolutely incredible. Just to think that this guy June, July was doing karaoke. It's a long way away. I mean, Jey Uso for me has got main event potential written all over him, and that would be the one. If one of them has a turn babyface, that would be the one I'd go for.
Definitely. I'm just going to kind of go to the final thoughts and score of SmackDown, Steve, before I forget. If you're going to rate this show out of 10, give me a rating out of 10 and your final sort of thought of it.
It was very quick paced, and I really enjoyed it. And the thing is, actually, one thing, I usually watch a lot of shows the next day because of the fact that obviously the time difference is not great for me. But I watched most of this show actually live as it was happening, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. So I'm going to go high this week. I'm going a solid 8 out of 10.
Yeah, I agree. I'm going to go 8 out of 10. I thought they did a really good job. They built up that heel turn, as we said, and they built up Daniel Bryan into the match. That was a great story arc, and they did a load of good stuff like building matches up. I think it was a really, really good show, SmackDown. I think they did really, really well. I really hope they do this, sort of continue to do this on the road to WrestleMania. We've obviously got 2 more SmackDowns, 2 more Raws to go to the big one. I think they need to do it. Have you got anything else you want to add before we get to these final news stories?
No, let's go to the news stories.
Okay, going to go to a quick comment just before we do. Got a great one here from the Limitless CR21. Edge should win at Mania and have Roman win it back at SummerSlam, the next big pay-per-view. Yeah, that could work, definitely. As long as Edge has got the longevity and he doesn't get injured again, I think that could work, him having the belt. Whoever gets the belt off Roman should have it for a while. It doesn't make sense to hot potato the title belts like they did with sort of The Miz and Lashley earlier on in this sort of year. Would you agree with that or disagree with them comment?
Yeah, no, I completely agree with it. I think that it makes sense that if Edge wins it, they should keep it for an extended period of time. And I think Roman as well, to the point of the storyline, if he was to keep the championship and hold it until, say, SummerSlam without losing at WrestleMania, then you might start finding that the heel turn is a bit stale and you might want Roman to go back to being a babyface in a different dynamic. So I totally agree with that comment. You give Roman a bit of a break, a different direction, come and revisit a SummerSlam, and then, put the belt back on him. And then hopefully by the time we get round to next year's WrestleMania, you can build another star of Roman Reigns.
Definitely. So we're going to go to the main events of WrestleMania. So we've got 2 nights main events. Steve said one earlier. Night 2, obviously, Roman Reigns, Edge, Daniel Bryan. That's the one everyone knows. The other one, night 1, this has been confirmed as well, going to be confirmed next week. It'll be Bobby Lashley, Drew McIntyre. They've chosen to go with the men instead of the women, which I'm surprised about. But that'll be a good main event. I'm excited to see that. And I really hope Lashley retains. What's your thoughts of that announcement and that being the main event of night 1?
If I had a preference, I mean, I know that Twitter's gone to war over this week. If I'd had the preference, I would have gone with Bianca Sasha purely because of the fact that it's the Royal Rumble winner. I just think that makes logical sense. But no, it doesn't always happen every year at WrestleMania. I do think that both matches will be standouts on the show. And I do think both of them, if they're not main event, they're sub-main event. And in my opinion, night 2 is the main event of WrestleMania. That's, we're only halfway through the show at the end of night 1. So, but for what it's going to be, both matches I expect to be fantastic. And, what happens with Drew McIntyre and Lashley remains to be seen. I still think Drew will get his moment in front of fans, but I'm on the side of you. I want Lashley to retain. No, I
Lashley
hope
needs to retain, to be fair, because Drew, his moment's gone. I know he had a great run last year, but the whole Drew feel-good factor for me, I think I could see them booing if Drew wins the belt. I think because Lashley's been built so well. Lashley's only had the belt for a cup of tea. You know what I mean? He's not had the belt for very long, and the way he won the belt wasn't exactly the most glamorous way. I wouldn't be a fan of that. I think if they do it with Drew, fine. But for me, if Drew does win the belt, where do they go next? Whereas if Lashley gets the win, they could get a rematch out of it against Drew again at Money in the Bank potentially as well. I don't know if you agree or disagree with that, Steve.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I mean, I would want Lashley to win the match. It's just that if you ask my opinion right now, I think Drew McIntyre will actually win the belt back. But let's see what happens. I mean, there's still a story to unravel. Who knows over the next couple of weeks? Opinions, predictions, it can all change. And like you say, after WrestleMania, that's the most important part, is having a direction. Because like you said, fans will turn on Drew, and then it might be a point that he'll have to do the same thing as Roman and turn heel, which at this point, I don't want to see. I think Drew is a well-booked babyface. Let's not get into the point that fans hate him yet.
Definitely. Going to go to the comments. Don Mills, yes, I hope not too, Jonesy. Let's get Drew away from the belt. Yeah, I agree. Drew's a great worker. His work with Sheamus has been faultless. He's been a great sort of patriot throughout the whole sort of lockdown and everything else last year. He's done really well to evolve his character. But for me, Lashley's the one that could take this Raw brand forward. They need something new. I'm going to go to kind of the final story of the day, really. Got some additional matches for WrestleMania we expect to be kind of added. So I'm just going to run through some of the matches. It won't be the ones that kind of we know already. It'll be just some extra ones that I believe are going to take place. So just going to go through that with that now. Some of them are pretty obvious, but we'll stay them anyway. We've got this expected match for the United States title, Riddle and Sheamus. That's going to be taking place. That they've started building that already last week. There's a match on Raw this week, which will be a non-title match, Riddle versus Sheamus. That will be designed, I think, to get Sheamus over probably, or Riddle may escape. An interesting bit of trivia, Steve, before we go to the rest of that. Riddle winning the United States title wasn't the original plan. Guess who was expected to win the belt originally?
It was Keith Lee all day long.
Yeah, Keith Lee was expected to win the belt, and then Riddle was going to be the one getting pinned. So that how things could have been different, at this time of year for WrestleMania.
It was exactly what I was hoping for when we got to the Elimination Chamber, but unfortunately, like we say, Keith Lee's just not been on the best form. Unfortunately, I hope he gets well very, very soon and gets back in the ring, because it'd be great to see him in that with the United States Championship. Because if he does with that belt what he did with the North American Championship in NXT, Keith Lee will become a main eventer in WWE in no time.
Definitely. Going to go to the last matches as well. We've got the expected SmackDown Tag Team titles. Obviously, Dirty Dogs, Dolph Ziggler, Robert Roode versus the Street Profits at the moment. But I do expect Alpha Academy and Ray and Dominic to be added. So that could be a fatal four-way for the tag belts. Does that excite you? I think based on what they've built so far for me, I'm excited by that.
Yeah, absolutely. That was the match I put forth on the video last week, and I threw it on Twitter as well, which weirdly enough got a lot of good reaction. Normally you'd think people wouldn't care about the SmackDown Tag Team Championships, which is very easy for me to say. But yeah, no, I think this match will be fantastic. It's put together. All four teams have got the momentum. They've all got good chemistry working together. And let's hope, I mean, maybe someone will disagree with me, but I think the father-son combination of the Mysterios winning the championship at WrestleMania, I think it's a WrestleMania moment. I think it's a feel-good moment. So that would be the one I would go with.
I agree. And the last few matches we got one more match I could see here. We got Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax defending the women's tag titles. It's either going to be against Lana and Naomi or Natalya and Tamina, apparently. There may be a multi-woman match again. Are you a fan of this match potentially? I think it could be fun.
It can be fun, but I think it should be a multi-woman match, personally. I think it should be at least 4 teams. I'd even go for tag team turmoil. Let's bring that in there. It could be a bit of fun at WrestleMania and have the right squad in there, because I think that if you're going to have a multi-team thing, Natalya and Tamina, they're on a roll, and the other 2 teams that are on Raw that feel they've been a bit unjustly, thrown out of the picture because of Reginald. We're talking Mandy Rose, Dana Brooke, and like you say, Lana and Naomi. I think those are the teams that definitely be involved. But I want a match for Bayley at WrestleMania, because there's no Bayley on this report.
No Bailey at all at the moment. No Bailey, no nothing. But I do have another 2 matches that are obvious that may happen. We're expected to get another Battle Royal, the Andre the Giant Battle Royal for women and men. So that's probably going to be where somebody like a Bailey or anybody else ends up, which will be fun. The show's going apparently 4 hours both nights, supposedly. So what do you think of the added matches? It's sort of filled out the card, hasn't it?
Absolutely, but I mean, they want about 6 or 7 matches like per night per show, and that makes sense really if they're going to have 4-hour shows per night. Let's not forget there will be 1 match at least put on the kickoff on both nights as well. So perhaps the Battle Royals will be on that placement.
Definitely. Just before we kind of end the show, Steve, just got one last kind of thing about it. Is it just me, or does night 1 seem a lot more stacked than night 2 at the moment for WrestleMania? The night 1 lineup seems incredible. Night 2 doesn't seem as good apart from kind of the main event and probably the Rhea Oscar match so far.
Isn't Randy Orton the Fiend as well, night 2, I think, also?
Night 2. I don't know if that'd be a match. That'd be a gimmick match, wouldn't it, of some sort?
Perhaps, yeah. I mean, the thing is, I think WrestleMania is a card. I think it does look a stacked card. But yeah, I mean, we'll have to see how it's going to play out. I mean, like you say, more matches are still to be announced, and obviously some matches are placed all on different places. But I did expect that the bulk of the best matches would have been on night 2. And like you say, some of the matches I'm surprised have been put on night 1, particularly Bad Bunny and The Miz, because Bad Bunny's that outsider attraction, and you would think that people would want to stick around for certain matches to be around. But maybe they put Bad Bunny purposely on that night because it feels at the moment some of your future stars, if you want, are on that WrestleMania night. So let's see what goes along here. I think it's going to be interesting either way.
Definitely got one last comment, a couple of comments just before we end the show, so I'm going to go to both of them. The Limitless CR21, Drew win gets his moment, then Bobby wins it right back. I hope so. It'd be great if he could win it back. A rematch next night on Raw would be nice. Kane losing the belt to Stone Cold Steve Austin, killing in 98. That'd be nice the next night on Raw. I don't know if you agree with that, Steve, or not.
Yeah, I mean, it's something that potentially could happen. The thing is, Money in the Bank is the following pay-per-view, so either people can do it via, actually winning a match one-on-one, or that Money in the Bank briefcase. WWE hasn't booked it well for the last number of years, so maybe if Reigns or Lashley was to win that, they can go and cash it in straight away. They don't have to worry about it. They've got the impact straight over. And like you say, someone like Lashley then can actually carry the championship through, because there's a lot of good opponents that could be there for Lashley. The only one I can think of left for Drew McIntyre after this is The Fiend.
Yeah, definitely. Going to go to the last comment of the day. Don Mills, how far has Bayley fallen since she had 2 belts, Bayley? Yeah, that says it all. I think, 100%. She's fallen down the card, unfortunately. But what a disappointment. Hopefully they get her out of this, because it's a shame. I think you'd agree, Steve.
Yeah, absolutely. I've been a big Bailey advocate, and certainly in recent times, because she's not just not been booked that well. I mean, since the Royal Rumble in particular, I mean, she had a great showing in the Rumble. She was there for like 40 minutes or something. She's done absolutely nothing since. I was really hoping she'd get some form of one-on-one match at WrestleMania. But if the Battle Royals are happening, you need some people in it. Bailey, she is a name value there. She can either win it, or perhaps she's the person that's thrown out at the end to make a new star, hopefully.
100%. Just before we end the video, Steve, please tell everybody coming up about what you got on your channel this week.
Yeah, thank you very much. As always, SCW, the wrestling channel. It's, of course, on YouTube. Please go and check it out and subscribe. Today has been dropped a video for the first one in a few days. Will WrestleMania be good? I touch on everything, whether it's been a well-built card, obviously some of the matches, and also what the direction, what should be main eventing, all different bits and bobs. And, of course, importantly, Daniel Bryan as well being added to that triple threat match. Of course, the Q&A coming up on Sunday, and next week, importantly, as well, NXT TakeOver Stand and Deliver. The predictions will be dropping on the channel as well. But thank you for always giving me the platform to come here on your channel, Jonesy. It's always great to be here. Everyone go and subscribe to you as well. Let's get you to 100 by WrestleMania. I think that certainly is the goal, and because great content on your channel all the time, my man. And yeah, people, go and show you some love.
Definitely. In terms of me, content coming next, we're going to be live on the Rated R for Wrestling channel in about half an hour, discussing WrestleMania 9. That's been a fun watch this week, I'm sure. Causing nightmares, and I think that'll be fun. Please check that out. That'll be a fun review. 4-man panel, myself, Steve, Barry from Nonstop Wrestling Chat, and Anthony, Rated R Wrestling. Please go and check that out as well. In terms of content on the channel, we'll be back on Tuesday to cover Raw. And I really appreciate you all kind of watching. This has been Jonesy Chats Wrestling. Thank you for your time watching this afternoon. If you haven't, please give us a thumbs up, and please subscribe to the channel if you haven't. But no, I hope you enjoy the rest of your Saturday, and thank you for watching, and thank you for all your comments. Take care. Stay safe.